For the past few weeks, New York street vendors and gift shops have done a brisk business in images like these. Postcards, photographs, and other souvenirs of the now vanished World Trade Center. Images that were once a dime a dozen now have a much greater value.
Begins with the west side. So from the very northern tip, you go all the way down.
But what may be the defining vision of New York as it was began over 3 years ago when an Italian-born architect working in Manhattan put pen to paper.
When you draw something, you completely absorb it, and you have to synthesize it in order to express it. If you have drawn that same thing, maybe just quickly one day as a sketch, you will never forget it.
Matteo Pericoli has indeed produced something hard to forget. He calls the project Manhattan Unfurled, 2 drawings totaling almost 75 feet that depict the sprawling skyline of his adopted hometown. Its title is shared by an exhibit at the New York Historical Society and a new book devoted to his work. Painstakingly drawn, without erasure or revision, Manhattan Unfurled is more than a draftsman's rendering of buildings. It is a portrait drawn by an artist in love with his subject.
Do the individual buildings still have character to you, and do they stand out as against the skyline as being something beautiful?
Yes, I think that every building is like a person. I have with all of them a sort of a personal relationship. Every time I would face a new building, it was like being somewhere and introducing yourself to somebody, and therefore sometimes it was maybe a quick sort of exchange, and at times it was a deep relationship.
Manhattan Unfurled began as a simple diversion. Pericoli found inspiration for his drawing by joining the tourists cruising the Hudson and East Rivers. Bringing home snapshots of the skyline, he began a nightly ritual, assembling tiny panoramas, drawing for a few hours before bedtime. Slowly, inches turned into feet, blocks evolved into neighborhoods, and the miniature vistas became a vast skyline. More and more of Pericoli's spare time went into capturing the endless variety of New York, across all neighborhoods.
I have to put the gloves back.
And in all weather.
Wow.
And it was something he was doing just for himself.
Did anybody know you were doing this?
No, for a while nobody knew, because I didn't even know what I was doing.
It took more than a year before Pericoli even saw his own big picture. After all, when you live in a typical New York apartment, there simply isn't room to unroll an entire city.
The very first time was I couldn't talk. Even now I feel a little emotional already, because it's like putting on display many months of work, all at once.
When Pericoli finally went public with his work, architecture critic Paul Goldberger made room for Manhattan Unfurled in the pages of his magazine, The New Yorker.
You feel in this drawing the rhythm, the energy of New York. You feel the power, the strength, but you also feel an incredible delicacy and intimacy. That's a lot to convey with just black ink.
Goldberger's column helped garner a book deal for Pericoli, who began dedicating himself full-time to finishing his portrait. Last December, Pericoli signed and dated his work. His paper city was complete. But as for the real New York...
What were your feelings on the 11th of September when this changed?
Well, apart from the incredible tragedy of human loss, I also realized that this alive organism that I had been looking at for so long was changing, was deeply being transformed, amputated, and badly attacked.
What we feel we miss most of all, beyond the lives of the people themselves who were lost, is that sense of wholeness. Matteo's drawing has that. It gives that back to us at just the time that we need it most.
If it was up to you, would you rebuild them? Try to rebuild them as they were?
I can't imagine now any solution. My dream, or I think for everybody, would be to close our eyes and open them and see them there.